combine with me. Guys, hey, thanks for joining me this morning. Let's get this combine project going. Get these tracks out. If you think this is a lot of work and rigmarole, it kind of is, but at the same time, my combine mechanically is good. Right now it's got some electrical problems, but overall it's a good combine, can last me many years. And if I'm going to replace it and spend 30 or 40 grand to upgrade, at this point, why don't I just do some sweat equity for a couple days and take that 30 and 40 grand and keep that thing running for the next 15, 20 years. You'll know it when I'm doing really well financially, or I literally bought a combine that a guy was trying to hide from a bank. If I upgrade combines, because there's just no need to. When they're telling us we're not making any money, I can put in some sweat equity and I can keep fixing up a nice old combine and go from there. So yep, a lot of work, but it's well worth it in my mind, because I'm just kind of done playing that game of debt. We need to get out of debt. And so yeah, all right, let's get to work. All right, we're kind of free and clear. Other than the combine falling over that once, everything looks pretty good. And I'll show you what we had to do. There wasn't much to record until this point, because all I was doing is kind of laying behind the tracks, taking bolts off, and I think you guys got more important things to do than to watch that. And so they were free and clear. Transmission just rolled over for a goofy thing. So yeah, all right, let's go look what I did. All right, so that went well, other than the combine falling over once and this tipping over on me. Other than that, I'd say complete success. I had my forks riding under these ears, and then I had a chain on the forks there to pull. And as I came out, we got out of a line, so that slipped off my forks, and so the assembly just rolled forward. Nobody got hurt. That's all that counts. Just tipped it up, put the jack underneath there. So now we just got to pay attention to stuff, to like this harnessing, and so this is all your shifting and your ground speed and that kind of stuff. So get this old one off of this one. It was burnt, so I just cut it. Get this old one off, and I think when this tipped over forward, they pulled out of the drive shafts. So I think when I go back together, I'll just take these off here, zip that off on each side, and then you lube the living jeepers out of these shafts when you go back together so they slide nice. But I'll get rid of them. That way I'm not trying to fight with that mess. Other than that, it's good to go as far as I know. Shoot. And so phase 2, the parking brake. I take the mechanical parking brake off. So phase 2 would be to get this feeder house off. On this side, all we got is the umbilical cord, and then I pop this pulley off just to open up all that room behind there to get to that pin that holds the feeder house on. It just makes it a million times nicer. So the only thing you got to do is that nut. So on Kloss, you don't unscrew the whole spring tension. That takes way too long. You tighten that nut up, you detension this pin, and you pop the pin out. It takes you 10 seconds, and you've got this belt loose. That is such a simple but magnificent idea. And then I'll pop these 6 bolts out, get that drum out of the way. That's it for this side. The other side, oh boy, the other side is our hydraulic connections are quick couplers. So the one is a hand thread, just a big knurled hand nut. You don't have to get wrenches on there or get pliers and crank the hell out of it. Just snug it up by hand so you loosen it. And this one's a typical, you know, Pioneer style type collar coupler. And then your electrical connection is just a plug-in. So that's pretty easy. And then you got your speed and your header height. That's for feeder house speed and that's for head position. Just unplug them two wires, and then you just got these two bolts that are holding the feeder house on, and then of course your cylinder pins. So actually fairly simple. So let's get a wrench, tighten that tightener, get that belt off, get that pulley off. I got to drive forward a little bit and then double check the positions of my forks. This feeder house is heavy. Do not kid yourself. You are not coming in here with a little tiny skid steer and lifting this feeder house off. Very easy and quick to remove the feeder house, but don't get yourself hurt because the 4430, this is about all that the 4430 and that 158 loader can lift. You need a decent sized skid steer. And so let's get them 3 items off and get this feeder house off. It wasn't bad at all. That you know, like I always say, they're very busy looking, very intimidating looking, but they're quote unquote easy to work on. So let's curl my forks back and drop the boom and see if we can't pull this puppy out of here and then start working on unbolting the front axle. And this combine, obviously I have to save the harnesses, so I can't just be nipping and cutting. So I got to take my time underneath there and get everything unbolted and unplugged. And so I might run and get a piece of cardboard to slide on the ground. But yeah, let's get this off first. Everything's looking good. He's coming. I might be a little high on him, so I'll let him down just a little bit. And I don't want it slamming up, so I'll dump down just a whisker and then try a little more. I think the biggest thing is with being out here on the dirt, there's a slight twist between the combine and the feeder house, the tractor, you know. Ha! There we go. I got fussing around with, all I did was bounce the loader up and down a couple times and put a little tension on the chain, and then just rock my forks up and down and kind of got it bouncing, and all of a sudden, doink, it came at me. And so we'll just set this guy off behind here somewhere. And yeah, and we'll probably, I don't know how much, yeah, let's just set this guy here and go from there. There we go. We got them cylinders off. I drug one over there. Back in my Mafia days, I've drug bodies that weighed less than them. Them are some heavy cylinders. The one thing I'm concerned about, I have no real worries about swapping front axles, the wheels to tracks, the ladder, none of that stuff. You know, I swapped feeder houses just fine. I'll swap the unloading arm. None of that stuff gives me any fear. My one fear is we've got a sensor here with a little heim joint set up that somehow these cylinders must change the relationship of this housing to this housing, and this little sensor senses that. And is that my sensor for setting my feeder house for cutting like beans or corn, where you got your presets, you know, to automatically drop and then to run your contour? That's a good question. We might be having to improvise something there if that's what that's for. But at the same time, when Al is here to fix my electrical problems, I might have him look through the C-bus and, if it's possible, make it a later software version that doesn't use that sensor to delete that. So I'll talk to him about it and see if that's a possibility. Otherwise, we just rig something up. Not that hard, I guess. If it's that sensitive, we can look at the range of travel on the monitor, and then on the front, if a guy has to make it more of a rotating sensor like the feeder house sensor, well, then you put it to the cylinder and put it to here or something like that, so as that cylinder changes its angle. We'll figure something out, but that's my big fear. Today, let's call that a phase 1 video maybe. I'll put it together, see how long it is, and we'll go from there. Well, there we are. Not gonna lie, kind of a nerve-wracking deal. You know, 15 years ago, I would have just yanked that thing out of there and never looked back, and it would have been just fine. Now that you're older and have a lot more fear, it's like, whoa, what if? So, all right, let's get that out of here somehow, and then let's figure out how to get them tracks to start making their way under here, and go from there. Yes. Well, there we go. We got this far. I'd imagine it's going to take several hours to get from here to there. We're coming in at a pretty hard angle. You can see we only got to go back a couple feet, and then we're going to be pretty in line where we need to be. And then comes the challenge of how to straighten this puppy out, because I can't move these tracks. I'd guarantee if you threw a chain down here and hooked to the 4430, I would bet you, I don't know if you could drag this thing sideways. There is a massive amount of, the Massey couldn't even lift 1/2 off the ground. So I don't know what on earth we're gonna do. And so I might just try to see, can I get a fork under a track to see, would that start to steer it around a little bit? I don't know, but it's gonna take a while to get there. And so I thought, well, let's just end the day here and be happy with it. And then tomorrow is a fresh start. I got some hay mower and tractor work to do, and oh yeah, it never ends. So this project might end up sitting for a week and a half while I get caught up in the shop. But yeah, oh well, we'll figure it out. But yep, we're this close. We're this close. And so yeah.